moving to 2-1 on the series. They're going to be very happy with that, and I got to say that all in all, they're looking a lot cleaner in their two more recent wins versus that initial game of the series.
Yeah, definitely so, and I think we're well on our way for matching the accurate 3-1 prediction of SKT T1 taking the series.
That's why I didn't gloat after the first game, because I knew this was coming.
You knew they'd pick up one game. All right, well, let's talk through it a little bit. Again, we see the Soraka coming through and now playing a very pivotal role. As the casters both just mentioned, Faker playing well on both sides of the Azir matchup now.
Well, I do want to jump on this mid lane matchup because Fizz doesn't beat Azir in lane, and Faker didn't beat Xiaohu in lane. What ends up going wrong for RNG is the fact they want to snowball bot lane with this Leona pick, obviously, into the Soraka, and have the Elise coming down early gank, and then win that lane due to early ganking, and then focus mid lane with Elise and Azir to shut down a Fizz. And that actually makes a lot of sense, and you just sacrifice top lane.
Except that winning that lane is a lot harder than most people think, right?
Yes.
Everyone's just like, oh yeah, Soraka, her weakness?
Just stun her.
Gank her, just burn her,
Easy.
ignite, we're fine now, right?
Yeah, Soraka Silver is against this Leona Jhin matchup is actually very fascinating because there's so many layers to it. Because if you go in as Leona early, you have to press stun early because then otherwise you risk getting into the silence field and then you can no longer proc it. With spell shield, generally what you want to do against the Sivir is you want to go in, fake the auto, she spell shields, then walk next to her. But then with silence field, that's another factor you have to factor in. So we saw Mala try and dance around it. They went a little ham level 1-2. They didn't respect the level 2
hard,
trades, the out sustain, but they had some winner's opportunity. And at the same time, though, Wolf and Bang, I mean, these guys really played not to lose. They never played to win this lane. They could have won this lane by like 20 CS if they like put the foot on the pedal, but they always just avoid losing.
Yeah, and that tacks on really well with Fishio's point. SKT, as we said before, they're not playing to win these lanes, right? They're playing to win the team fights. Both of those bottom lanes bought a lot of pick potential to the mid game, right? We saw the long range initiation from Jhin, combo that into the stun. But the same thing with the Sivir, what SKT are doing multiple times, sitting on a pink ward, everybody's waiting there. You have this Assassin Fizz ready to run in. They pop the Sivir ultimate and immediately get a pick for themselves as well.
Yeah.
And that mid game, you know, the Fizz not only in other lanes, but also picking people off.
You know, let's get the replay because it actually shows exactly where it goes wrong for RNG. Now, this is what SKT have changed and does really well now, is they react a lot. So it's actually a gank that's being set up. You can see the Elise on your minimap moving to top lane. And because there's a double teleport on the side of SKT, they can react with Faker coming in. I don't think you should ever gank this top lane as RNG. This lane is dead for you. Let the poppy loose. Don't try and gank it because you cannot react to this TP. It becomes a 2v2, Faker gets a kill. And what then ends up happening is now the jungler is shown on top side. That means you can't actually play aggressive on bottom side now, and they do it anyway.
And the other thing is, after that, sticks around at the minions. They just saw you use your repel.
Yeah.
You know this dive is going to come.
That's the micro mistake. This is the macro mistake.
The macro mistake here, and they don't use information very well. RNG sometimes fail to adapt with what information is on the map. When it comes to the bigger map plays, sending your jungler top is the mistake first already, not trying to set it up for a bot gank. We even saw at level 1. They went for a trade where they went super ham, and then 30 seconds later, the Elise shows up, and then it's like, why didn't you guys synchronize this? You know, maybe use your CC together, because then you can get through spell, shield, silence, and a flash, and still generate a kill. And all Leona Jhin need is 1 or 2 kills to start snowballing, because suddenly that sustain from Soraka isn't enough to beat your all-in, regardless of when you choose to go.
And those kills need to happen before Fizz can TP in and have an impact in the bottom lane. So when you're all in level 2 and use your offensive summoner, then your jungler walks in at level 3, you don't have the same kill pressure suddenly anymore. It's very uncoordinated, and once that bot lane fails to get rolling, suddenly you can't really sit and camp the mid lane either because you're not winning the bot lane anymore, and you will always lose top. And then they just kind of panic and be like, all right, let's try and gank top then. And that's the worst you can do, because then the TP comes in, you snowball there, bot lane can't play aggressive, they get dove, and then the game is basically over.
Yeah, so SKT out to a very early lead in terms of kills, but we did see about 5 minutes later into the game, RNG, they're going to pick up a little bit more, and this was kind of the
equalizer turning point. The things that RNG are good at, they are incredibly good at, and that is looking for picks or aggression in the mid game. We also have a replay of that. They managed to find picks here every time. I really like this combo where you open with Jhin ulti. It's a good adaptation because there is an execute to that Jhin ulti, so generally you want to use it last. But here they just layer the CC and they force SKT to kind of overcommit too, because they're already winning the fight right now, and this is a good turning point for RNG.
Not really sure what Bang was doing in the end. Like, I have no mana, boys. I know my Echo could probably finish the Jhin, but ends up over-chasing, and Fake also missed, of course,
This is huge, though, the Azir miss here.
This is another point about the individual play, though. You know, Xiaohu had a couple of those instances where his Azir, he did not look comfortable, or, you know, whatever the reason. There were a lot of misplays.
Also, the fact that he goes for the first pick Azir when the LeBlanc was available, right? So he could have just went for the counter pick too. Like, I think he seems no longer have confidence in the counter matchup, because usually he would just give over the Azir, pick the LeBlanc if they take it, and then just wreck him in lane.
How much of that, though, is the fact that now SKT is showing up to these team fights and RNG is saying we need something that's a little bit more secure from a champion perspective in the team fights, as opposed to looking for just that single carry?
I mean, so you have to do both parts, right? You can draft for that style, and then they have to also set up for that style. Multiple times, you know, they're there, they don't have the front line in a very similar area where they were trying to do one of those team fights, and, you know, story could be completely different, but not setting up the pink wards in advance, you know, trying to get everybody there ready for the fight.
All right, well, real quickly before we go to break, I want to take a look at the fight that kind of put the nail in the coffin for RNG. SKT picking up 5 kills, 4-2, plus Baron off the back end of it.
It was close, but it's Mata here just going in and honestly, whiffing everything.
Yeah, as soon as you've done this, you're kind of useless now as a Leona, obviously missing everything, but this is the fight you talked about, Kobe, where Poppy isn't there in the front line. And it's a fun game to play Echo, when not only do you see Azir, and Echo is really good into Azir because flanks are very strong against against Azir, you also see a Jhin. And like, oh, that is gold. And when you have so much mobility and CC versus an AD carry who can't escape, and your team is winning early on, so obviously Duke ends up having a monster game, because he basically got spoon-fed everything.
Well, yeah, of course, Duke is finally happy that he doesn't have to be the one taking this matchup on the other foot there, right? He's finally able to get actually a good matchup that he should be winning, and he does. Yep. Maybe could have won a little bit harder than the 1%, but he definitely did his job.
Yeah, we saw how the lack of frontline really influenced that fight, though, because yes, Mata whiffs a little bit, but if there's a Poppy there at least with Steadfast present, maybe they can cancel a Fisk Q, you know, any dashes going in, maybe just slow them down a little bit, but he arrived when the fight was already over, and then, yeah, Poppy is pretty much useless.
All in all, SKT moved to 2-1. They're going to have brought this series to match point for themselves. We'll be right back to see if RNG can extend this series one more game. We'll be right back here in Shanghai in just a moment. We'll see you soon.
I was going to say also about the...